Hi, I'm Keith Ghostland.
I'm Ann Charles.
I'm Linda Quinlan, and welcome to All Things LGBTQ. Today is November 6th, 2018, Tuesday, and it is Election Day. And it is also our second anniversary. Yay for us, huh? And I guess we will start with
Thanking Zach for making us look better than we are. So, for headlines, it's Election Day.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
I think I might be talking about some politics. I'll be talking a little bit about things in Vermont to watch for, then some things on a national level. We're taping at the same time that you're voting, so I'm going to try not to make predictions that will come back to haunt me. Looking at some headlines, it's okay to be white. Posters showed up at Champlain College and UVM over the past weekend. Burlington police have been able to connect these directly to a white supremacist group for which there's no known chapter here in Vermont. But they also had an individual who was a person of interest who didn't live in Burlington, who they believe is associated with this. So it's one of those that just when you think your backyard is safe. So, as I take out my paper, fair and impartial policing had a mandate that they had to have training done by this December for all of their officers on the new protocols, how to approach incidents. Somehow in the budget, like the one that got vetoed and had to be redone, they kind of forgot to put in enough money to hire an instructor to do the training. So they're scrambling and looking at doing this online. This may be something to which we want to be attentive in the next legislative session, because what's the point of having fair and impartial policing policies if you can't train on them? So the trivia question, and I went through two of them, and this is the one we decided on for this episode. November 27th, 1978, very dark day. It was 11 days after the Jonestown massacre in Guyana, the People's Temple. However, San Francisco, assassination of Mayor George Moscone and Supervisor Harvey Milk. Dan White, the council member who was responsible, his trial, something very notable that came out of it. What was it?
And it's something that people have been using since then.
It's become part of the national language.
Yeah.
And we'll bring it back to why in Vermont we should care about it.
Well,
so are you?
She's got penguins.
I
have
understood there
penguins.
was a penguin video.
That is correct. So I have news from the penguin community. Other headlines: the Tanzania governor says that police will catch every homosexual in 1 week, beginning yesterday. And right before I came, 10 people, I saw a report that 10 people already have been arrested. The EU recalls the ambassador to Tanzania in response. A Russian youth wins a gay propaganda case in a great surprise, but then the counterpart, an anti-gay Russian lawmaker, disrupts the opening of the LGBT Film Festival. A Holocaust memorial in Tel Aviv is vandalized. An extension to the outcry that greeted that, or a counterpoint, is that a rabbi continues his attack on gays, calling same-sex families deviant. Malawi's anti-LGBT law fuels violence and discrimination, according to a new report. And I have a picture now before you of Gift Tropence, who's the director of an organization providing safe space for gays. Another picture before you is of a slain activist sister. Her name is Aniele Franco in Brazil. She's the sister of slain Marielle Franco, and Marielle's widow, Monica Benicio. They, in a speech in Paris, said they are not going to hide from this new right-wing elected head of state, Jair Bolsonaro. So Aniel Franco is on the left. The picture of Marielle Franco, I remember she was a lesbian from Rio, shot, and her widow. They're all pictured before you. Two more headlines. Polish schools cancel LGBT Tolerance Day under government pressure. And finally, Taiwan has a record-breaking Pride Parade, and I have a picture of that before you. 137,000 people marched. So those are my headlines, and we'll get back to many of these stories.
Okay.
I hope.
Thank you. I'm really looking forward to the Penguins.
Oh, it's fun.
I live for the Penguins.
Well,
Hi. The Supreme Court 2018 and 19th session will be a very busy one. The group that sued to stop drag queen story time is at it again. Two local politicians from Alaska, Interior region, have become the state's first trans women elected into office already. Milwaukee debuts on new rainbow crosswalk. Queer man arrested in New York following a string of anti-Semitic vandalism. Dozens of companies just warned Trump not to mess with trans rights. A new video game and a rainbow wave, which we will talk about later. Lesbian couples set their wedding dresses on fire in a breathtaking ceremony. You can see a picture of them in their wedding gowns on fire. April Jennifer Chow and Bethany Bynes are professional when playing with fire. They both have modeled and assisted in fire stunts as part of their job.
so this was a
I
fire
feel
stunt.
better about this now.
I know.
I saw the picture.
I did too.
Barbara Streisand's new album takes pot shots at Trump, but also includes Love Is Never Wrong, a pro-LGBTQ song. Trump apparently made racist and anti-LGBT comments, according to his change of heart lawyer, Cohen. Knife-wielding Key West couple assaults tourists in Key West. And in Cincinnati, police arrest Jerome Curry, 40, for allegedly pointing a gun at the heads of two transgender women while calling them anti-LGBTQ slurs. So,
The drag queen story, I think they keep protesting because they dress better. And,
Could be.
and the makeup.
it's just phenomenal, I know.
So, looking at politics, here in Vermont, some of the things that we're going to want to be watching, and 2 weeks from now, we will definitely be reporting on. First and foremost is Christine Hallquist running for governor. The last show we had, she was trailing Phil Scott by a significant margin. Looking at Clear Politics polling, within the last 2 weeks, she has shot up 10 points. So that there is a surge behind her. The question is, how far will it extend?
And
what
partially it will
do?
depend on who gets out to vote.
I was willing to drive you to the poll. So we have 8 out LGBT candidates running for our Vermont legislature. 7 of them are people we know fairly well. Bill Lippert, Brian Sheena, Deanna Gonzalez, Matthew Triber, Becca Balland, Brian Campion, and Debbie Ingram. And all of them look fairly comfortable, should be an easy margin to victory. There's a new individual, Kathleen James, which was a totally new name to me. I found her on the Victory Fund site. She is running in Bennington. The 2 incumbents, one Democratic, one Republican, are both running for re-election.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe this could be a Democratic gain.
Yeah.
In the House, the Democrats are looking at, can they achieve a supermajority for members so that if, oh my, they are once again confronted with vetoes relative to minimum wage, family leave, and the budget, they will have enough votes to override it. So there are currently 53 Republicans serving in the House, which means they need to pick up or flip at least 4.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a number of empty seats that they would be looking at, seeing if a Democrat could be elected.
And there's trouble with their one Democrat in North Dakota.
Well, which house?
we're in
We're
Vermont.
talking.
We're in Vermont
We're
still.
still in
Okay,
Vermont.
we're still
And,
in
you
We're
know,
Vermont.
having a Doctor Who moment again.
Yeah.
But it's okay.
And there
So-
were, you know, the House was, the legislature was plagued by vetoes at the end of
Exactly.
the last.
And
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
significant bills for social
The
change
environment.
and advancement, et
Sure.
cetera. So in the Senate, what is going to be interesting is, you know, the Democrats will probably maintain their majority without a lot of difficulty, but there's some open seats. You know, there's an open seat in Addison that had been held by a Democrat. There's an open seat in Franklin County that had been held by a Republican. And there is an open seat in Rutland that had been held by a Republican. That's the Senate race to really watch, because they think there's a Democrat who has a very good chance of being the first Democrat coming out of Rutland in over 20 years.
Wow.
Addison County, they're watching really closely because there are so many candidates at this point in time, including independents, that they're really not sure where it's going to go. So that is it for Vermont. And when we come back around, I'll talk about some of the national. We might be looking at a clip coming out of Massachusetts for question 3, which should definitely make you smile, and then looking at some of the national races to watch.
I like the accent.
And the clip coming up,
Yes.
but we
What do you mean
anticipate. All right, let's talk about some penguins, shall we?
Yay.
I'd like to follow up. I was so enthusiastic in my presentation last time that I don't know if I clarified that the penguin, you know, a dummy egg was presented to these gay penguins and they passed the test. So an actual egg was given to them and has reached fruition in the form of a baby chick.
And now we're going to get to see it.
Yes, let's show the clip now, please. It repeats some of my previous story, but it bears repeating.
Well, that was a fun clip.
It's
They are
Sven
so
and-
cute.
I
They
live
are
for the
so
penguins
cute.
these days.
I know it. Svenjik is what they call the couple, and now the new offspring is called baby Svenjik. Sven and magic combined. So now on to more somber concerns. In Tanzania, the governor there has announced that he's going to drum out all homosexuals. He's the governor of Dar es Salaam. He has called on people to, you know, name homosexuals and report them. He's encouraging them to call the police. He says that 100 people, he's already gotten 100 names. He added that he's expecting outraged response from progressive countries, but he doesn't care. I prefer to anger those countries than to anger God, he said. He said gay sex tramples on the moral values of Tanzanians and our two Christian and Muslim religions. Gay woman, self-identified.
I was saying, Tanzania, do you have what the U.S. Embassy's response was?
I certainly, well, I have the EU response.
No, the U.S. Embassy.
What is the U.S. Embassy?
They put out an alert to American tourists saying, you need to be aware this is happening and take caution. So basically, they're stepping back and saying the responsibility is on you. We probably aren't going to be there to defend you, and they're not challenging it.
No.
It's very equivocal because the main government, the federal government, has kind of disavowed. I mean, they're letting
what's happening in that.
Yeah, they're letting it continue, but it's issued a statement saying that Makanda, this governor, what he said was his opinion and does not speak for the administration. So the EU has withdrawn its representative, but you know, the arrests are starting already. So,
and they would not have a good outcome.
You.
Right. Zanzibar is where the most recent arrests occurred. So a Russian youth, much to his surprise, he was arrested under the gay propaganda law because he had a clip showing naked men, not naked, you know, partially naked men.
Is this the bodybuilders?
Yes. Well, I don't know. Naked men, partially naked men. I can tell you that. The commission said that some photographs of young men whose appearance, partly nude body parts, had characteristics of propaganda of homosexual relationships. He was the first minor to be fined under the law. He immediately filed an appeal, and his appeal was granted, much to his surprise. There's a deplorable who is active. He's a Russian lawmaker, a State Duma deputy, and anti-gay crusader, Vitaly Molonov. He attempted to shut down Russia's only LGBT film festival on its opening night. He came to the festival with 6 men. They physically blocked the entrance to the side-by-side film festival on Wednesday. He's heard accusing festival goers of trying to get into the venue and participating in an unsanctioned demonstration. This is something else. He says, "Dear citizens, you know yourselves that you are perverts. You need to disperse," he can be heard saying. We are, can you believe it? "We are Russian people who are on our own home soil, and you're not. Your motherland is Sodom and Gomorrah," he adds. According to the festival's organizers, he claimed that a hostage crisis had unfolded inside this cinema. Called the police. The police came. 400 festival goers had tickets. The building was evacuated, but the festival will continue. It's in its 11th year. It's been threatened by government officials in the past. The organizers say the show will go on. So. Let me just show you quickly the Holocaust Memorial in Tel Aviv. The message you can see in the picture is "Death to LGBTQ." The memorial was completed in 2014. It's shaped like a pink triangle, and we can look at Keith's collar, which queer victims of the Nazis were forced to wear. I think we all know this, as they were sent to concentration camps. The inscription on the triangle reads, "In memory of those persecuted by the Nazi regime for their sexual and gender identity." Everyone was outraged by this. The mayor immediately wiped off the offensive graffiti. And as we know, Tel Aviv is generally known as the gay capital of the Middle East. So, big pride parade, generally it's progressive, although there was a dispute recently about legislation in which single women were allowed to adopt, but gay people weren't. So that triggered this homophobic Rabbi Yigal Levenstein, who's co-dean of the B'nai David Pre-Military Academy in Ely. He said bringing up children without a mother was unjust. He staged a big confrontation in the Knesset, and he confronted a gay legislator, and they had a shouting match. And he said, the gay legislator said to Netanyahu, the prime minister, look me in the eye and tell me I can't adopt children. So then this homophobe, he told the gay legislator told the homophobe not to look him in the eye, and said he was the ugliest and darkest face of Jewish zealotry. He said, the only deviant here is that the state is stupid enough to pay the salary of someone who disseminates poison and hatred like you, with opinions like the Ayatollahs of Iran. So the law was passed during the summer, expanding the rights to state-supportive surrogacy, but not for gay people. Netanyahu says he's supported such a right, but that he doesn't have the votes in the coalition to make it at present, to pass it at present. Okay.
So didn't they start their own party in Israel? The LGBTQ, didn't they?
They may have.
Yeah, I think they did.
I'll report on that next time.
The Supreme Court in 2018 and 19 will be very busy. And with our new Supreme Court Justice, should be very...
Terrible. 3
court cases go to court, and they ask whether existing federal law protects LGBTQ people from employment discrimination. And there's a 4th case on its way. 3 cases also will revisit the question of whether business people can cite their religious beliefs to violate state law. So that will be coming up in the next few years. A group that sued to stop the drag queen story time is using it in political ad attacks.
Where is this, in Nashville? In Tennessee?
I can't remember.
I was thinking it was Louisiana.
It might be. I'm trying to remember. I know I reported on this last time, but right. I can't remember where it was. But
because the attorney who drafted the suit has repeatedly done anti-LGBTQ suits that have been thrown out because they lacked legal merit.
Yeah.
So I hope it follows the same.
This happens again. Anyway, they're using them in ads to try to. Oh, it's Houston. So it's Texas.
Houston?
Yeah.
Well, what do you know?
They're using these ads to scare Houston area voters into supporting Republican candidates. 2 local politicians from Alaska are the first transgender women elected into office. And Alaska's municipal elections, which took place earlier this month, saw Kathy Oderstein elected to City Council in Fairbanks for a 1-year term, and Liz Like was elected to serve as an assembly member for Fairbanks North Starborough, a region that encompasses the city of Fairbanks, for a 3-year term. Osterson's constituency includes some 32,000 residents, and Likes encompasses nearly 100,000 people. Now, both women have been officially sworn into office.
Way to go.
So right. There they go. And Milwaukee, and I have a picture, debuts their rainbow crosswalk. The crosswalk will highlight not just the hard-won path towards I guess there was a favorite tavern in this area. I searched everywhere and nobody mentioned what the tavern's name was. So I have no idea. But
Well, we probably won't go there.
no. But if anybody's there and knows what it was, they could let me know.
Please tell us.
And anyway, it's on the intersection where this treasured bar was. And it's the first LGBTQ monument. And it's a symbol of historic local pride. So here's a picture of it. And the picture is, it's done in the design of piano keys. So it's quite lovely. Dozens of companies just warned Trump not to mess with trans rights. 56 countries have joined together to oppose any administrative and legislative efforts to erase transgender protections. You can look up the entire list. There's 56.
Countries or companies?
Companies.
They didn't. It's online, but I just listed a few, and I know.
Well,
you have some.
There's a hometown favorite, which is
Ben and Jerry's.
Homemade.
So we have a picture of Ben and Jerry's,
The original
right? The
Ben and
original.
Jerry's.
Okay.
Whoa.
And on that list is IBM, Apple, Cisco Systems, Facebook, Intel, The Lift, and Nike. And so those are just a few. And there's a new video game put out by Curtis Campion, and he wanted, you know, he's not that old himself, and when he was a young kid, I guess he wanted to have some video games that had gay protagonists. So he created this game, and it's called Newfound Courage, and it's very romantic, I've heard.
Oh.
So, and I think that's it for me for right now.
All right.
How about you?
Well, I'm looking at the national stuff, and everyone is aware that one of the real pushes is to try and flip the House from Republican to Democrat. They need to pick up 23 seats in order to do that. Senate, for some reason, pollsters are really thinking that the Republicans are going to be able to hold on, but looking at the poll results from Real Clear Politics, there's a lot of those that, you know, with the open seats, that it's leaning towards the Democrats. So that's going to be a very interesting phenomenon for our communities. The things that we really want to watch is Kristen Sinema in Arizona, who is running for the Senate. She was one of the 6 out House members. So we're going to lose somebody in the House. But hopefully Tammy Baldwin, who is up by 10 points at the last,
Hooray.
I'm so happy.
We'll have a lesbian caucus now.
Yeah.
What we're also looking at for the House coming out of Kansas, Sharice Davids. And this would be a 2-for-1. She is not only an out lesbian, she would be the first Native American woman
She is very
elected
exciting.
to the House. And she is up in the polls by 12 points.
Uh-huh.
The other is looking at Chris Pappas, and this would again be for the House. This is coming out of New Hampshire. He is up by 11 points. So that's looking incredibly encouraging. The other race really for us to watch is in Colorado, the governor, and it's Jared Polis, who was one of those 6 out House members. He is, as I look over at my list, he is up by 6 points in the poll. So everyone is thinking that he is going to be the first gay male governor in U.S. history. And then what we're also going to be looking at is Kate Brown in Oregon for governor, who was the first LGBTQ identifying as a bisexual woman. So people are looking for her, and she's up by 4 points
And our
in the
Christine.
poll. Huh?
And our Christine.
And our Christine, well, I had already mentioned her in the Vermont part. The other, and this just came out of nowhere, lieutenant governor's race. Joshua Tenorio, Guam.
Oh, there we go.
They've got them up in the polls by 10 points.
Wow.
But there are multiple parties, so they're not sure that they will get a majority, the 50+1, so it may go into a runoff. There are lots of initiatives going on. Massachusetts, question 3.
Hey, think about it, kid. We bang Hueys wherever we want. No blinker. We cut you off on the pike, and then we slow it right the fuck down. And the second that light turns green, I'm honking.
Spoken like a true masshole.
We use our grandmother's furniture to save our parking spots. We drop our R's and put them back in words that don't even have them. Manhattan clam chowder? The fuck is that? In New York sports teams?
Already golfing.
17 years, 10 championships.
11.
We'll still find something to bitch about on sports radio, and we'll remind you who the fucking GOAT is every 5 minutes. We cross the street wherever we want, because I'm a fucking pedestrian, and this is where I'm crossing. You know, our forefathers granted us this right to be loud, proud, occasionally obnoxious, and that freedom is so important to us. So, who are we to take away our neighbors' liberties? Or revoke the law that protects their right to live a life free from discrimination? Or be biased against someone based on the gender they identify with? Yeah. We're massholes, but we're no assholes.
I hope you liked the video. There's also a minimum wage bill in Arkansas, Missouri. Alabama and West Virginia are trying to pull back women's rights. So those are things we're going to be watching. And I will have a much detailed list on our next show.
That's right. Well, I only have one more story. I'd like to talk about the bad things happening in Brazil. The Jair Bolsonaro is a little bit of a deplorable. He's been elected to be the head of state, and through a lot of skullduggery, he's famous or infamous for saying he'd rather have a dead son than a gay son. And so,
I say we don't let him have any sons.
I know. Well, I think, yeah, he's been elected. People are expecting trouble in Brazil where there's already trouble.
Wasn't it kind of close, like 51 to 49 or something?
No, because he imprisoned his opponent.
Oh, I thought there was
then
an
improved the odds.
Strategy.
Yeah.
Georgia, they merely suppress voters.
No, but there was a working party, wasn't there, or something? And anyway, go ahead.
There is a working party.
A workers' party.
Well, a representative of it was assassinated in March. Remember I told you that she was a lesbian? So there's a lot of poverty. It's a terrible condition. A lot of people have been equating him with Donald Trump, and he has similar characteristics, but sophisticated pundits are saying there's no it's too hasty to equate them, but they're both kind of on the deplorable side very clearly. So I'd like to call our attention to that. And there's resistance, of course. So.
And is he like the kind of, is he a dictator? I guess he isn't president. That will call in the military to quiet
he
dissension,
says,
do you think? Or?
Oh, yeah. He says he's going to clean, that's the way he says it, homosexuals, poor people, and black people. He's going to clean them.
Personally, I bathed this morning, but go ahead.
I think people were just hiding behind their opinions, and Bolsonaro now gives them the right to say this crazy stuff out loud. That sounds familiar.
Yeah.
And so we are very scared and in danger, but they're going to, they're defiant. Gay activists, like her sister who was gunned down, this one spokeswoman said, will not hide. I'm pretty sure LGBT organizations are not going to hide. They're going to go to fight and be on the front line and say we exist. I think they will continue to be there, showing their faces and saying our love exists, and they will stay there until better days to come. So he openly admires Brazil's former military dictatorships, and he's said bad things about women besides gay and black people. He won 55% of Sunday's runoff election, more than 10 points ahead of his leftist opponent, Fernando Haddad.
Yeah.
Haddad was like a last-minute replacement after the real rival was was in jail.
We won't be going to Carnival this year.
No.
And it's a danger. It's been a dangerous place for a long time, especially for trans people, right?
Well, yeah.
So,
although the lesbian leftist was shot too, so
yeah.
Not good all around.
Well, apparently Trump has made some LGBTQ disparaging words against us, but I don't find that.
What?
Does anybody find that shocking?
Imagine my surprise.
I know. Well, because Cohen has had a change of heart, and now
Michael.
Yes, and now he wants to talk about all the, make up for his bad behavior. And he said that when he mentioned to Trump that his crowds looked a little vanilla, that Trump replied that black people were too dumb to vote for him. And Trump also challenged Cohen to name one country run by a black person that wasn't a shithole country.
Except I saw this report on Rachel Maddow in which she was very doubtful about, is it Michael Cohen you said?
Michael Cohen.
About his whole angle. He stands a lot to gain by,
Well, of course he does, of course. But,
You mean there might be a book coming out?
But, it
all
sounds...
kinds of deals in the works for him.
It sounds right only because Trump himself called a lot of countries shithole countries.
And,
so,
Well, what he's doing is he's putting 45's game back on him, which is the same as what Avenatti had done.
Yeah.
With Daniels. I'll play your game and I'll play it the same as you do, and let's see who does it better.
I kind of like him.
Michael Avenatti, I do too.
He's kind of like, come on, bring it on, come on. So anyway, we'll see what happens with that. And this is an interesting story. This happened in Key West. I don't know if any of you heard about this, but
I saw the pictures.
apparently this couple didn't like these two gay guys because they were wearing Speedos.
And they took a dinghy to an island, or
Yeah,
what
they
was
were
it?
going to some island. They had a boat, but then they were going to some island on their little dinghy. It was nobody lives there. It's like some small island off the coast of Key West. And anyway, these people came out of the
Forest or
wherever it's down there.
No,
jungle.
They were in another boat.
Oh, they were?
Oh no, I didn't see that. They were on the shore, I heard.
Well, they followed them.
They did, but they
Were yelling at them.
they were yelling at them. They were calling them names, but they also pulled out a knife.
She was yelling at them.
Yes, and they hit
Really?
them with an oar.
One person had a knife and one person smacked them with an oar.
Right.
You have a picture of these deplorables?
No.
Yeah.
Actually, I had no, but we could probably.
They are
anyway.
not attractive mugshots.
No, they are not.
I know.
They are not.
And we don't, as a rule, show deplorables on the show. We don't
So
give them
anyway,
a-
somehow they got away and they got into the big boat and they called the
the victims.
Coast Guard. And these two were arrested, but
I'm telling you.
they didn't like Speedos.
Well, what was interesting about this, reading it and looking at the traditional profiling of bias and hate-motivated crimes, it was the woman who was truly the aggressor and was really pushing this and was the primary perpetrator of the violence, which in one respect was kind of surprising. It didn't fit a traditional profile.
Yeah. Well, there we have it.
Damn.
And they were from Hollywood, California, the gay couple. And
That's where the Pleasure Emporium is, right?
No, that's Hollywood, Florida.
Oh, sorry,
Get your back roasted.
sorry.
And in Cincinnati, police arrest Jerome Forty for allegedly pointing a gun at the head of 2 transgender women. So, other than, political statements and whatnot, I think we probably should move on.
With that,
And happy
Trivia.
anniversary, everybody.
the trivia.
The trivia.
Duh. So,
Especially since we knew the answer.
yeah, you knew the answer. That infamous day back in 1978, the assassination of George Moscone, Harvey Milk. The trial became famous for the Twinkie defense, which was also a diminished capacity. And what was interesting is, following the verdict, which was surprising in and of itself, clear assassination, he only received 5 years in jail.
Yeah.
California legislature repealed their diminished capacity statutes. So
Did he commit suicide?
after he was released, he
He was a mess.
Well, he was
Yeah.
a mess before, too.
Well, yeah.
It was a mess before.
But I think he
because the
committed
Twinkie
suicide.
defense, they were saying,
Too much sugar or something.
well, no. What they were presenting in court is that his eating all of the junk food, and Twinkies being the example, was such a departure from his usual pattern that it was indicative of this deteriorating mental status.
Right.
So, and yeah, after he was released, he went back to San Francisco, just couldn't.
Yeah.
And they found him in his car one morning.
Yeah. So, on that note.
Well, happy anniversary to us.
Happy anniversary to us!
Yes, and the election, hang in there, everybody. I hope we're very
Good
excited
outcome.
and have smiles on our faces next time we're here. But we'll have more news about that then. So in the meantime,
Resist.